podcast. Today, we're talking about addiction, not as a stereotype or a headline, but as a scientific and medical issue. It's something people have strong opinions about, but not always strong understanding of. So today, we're focusing on what research actually shows. I'm joined by Ruba Gindi. Let's start from the basics. When we say addiction, what are we really talking about?
At its core, addiction is a disorder of the brain's reward system. Substances like drugs, alcohol, and nicotine interfere with how the brain processes motivation, pleasure, and control. So, over time, the brain starts prioritizing these substances rather than normal rewards do. So, it's not only about behavior, it's also about biology.
So it's not simply about poor choices.
Exactly. Choices plays a role at the beginning, but once the brain chemistry changes, control becomes much more harder. Scientifically, we see long-term changes in the areas of the brain responsible for decision making, impulse control, and stress regulation.
Does everyone have the same risks of developing addiction?
No, and this is where genetics comes in. Large scale genetic studies, some involving over 1 million people, show shared genetic markers across different substance use. That means some people are biologically more insecure from the start. Genetics doesn't guarantee addiction, it only increases the risk, especially when combined with stress or trauma.
You mentioned the brain chemistry earlier. What's actually happening inside the brain?
A key player is dopamine. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter linked with reward and motivation. Addictive substances cause dopamine level to spike far beyond what's normal. Over time, the brain starts adapting by reducing sensitivity, which makes the person wanting more of the substance just to feel normal and okay. And that's how dependence forms.
So psychology and environment still matter, but they interact with biology?
Exactly. Researchers from Egypt and Saudi Arabia show strong links between substance use and mental health disorders, childhood trauma, and gender. So biology may load the gun, but environment often pulls the trigger. That's why culturally sensitive programs up for prevention are very important.
What does all of this mean in real life for individuals and communities?
Physically, addiction damages organs like the lungs, liver, the heart. It weakens the immune system. It also causes infectious diseases like HIV, hepatitis. And mentally, addiction comes along with depression and anxiety, trauma related disorders, which makes recovery even more complex. Beyond the individuals, families also face instability, children are affected, and even the society, the environment. The environment face high rates of crimes and economic strains. So addiction doesn't stay outward, it also spreads.
Now, this is where the events like the pandemic come into the picture.
Exactly. COVID didn't create addiction, it just intensified existing vulnerabilities. So, isolation and anxiety and uncertainty pushed people to use substances as a coping mechanism. In many regions, alcohol consumptions rose in a very high way. From a scientific perspective, once the brain learns to rely on a substance, those patterns cannot persist long after the crisis ends.
So the problem existed, but the pressure increased?
That's right.
Let's talk solutions. When people ask what actually works, what does the science say?
We know several things help. Medications like methadone stabilize brain chemistry and avoid addiction. Things like naltrexone reduces alcohol cravings by blocking certain receptors. Nicotine replacement therapies ease withdrawal without harmful toxins.
And this isn't only about individuals, right?
Exactly. Public health strategies matter too. Policies like taxing alcohol and tobacco, limiting advertising, making a lot of awareness campaigns help a lot. We have a very good example like the Communities That Heal in the US. This program reduced overdose deaths up to 37%. So it really shows that these stuff help a lot.
With all of this in mind, what's the main takeaway?
Addiction is not a moral failure. Addiction is a medical condition combined with trauma, stress, and social structure. Once the people know how to identify their triggers, they can solve this problem.
Thank you for this conversation, and thank you to our listeners for joining us today. Stay informed, stay compassionate, and we'll see you next time.